Welcome to Special Guest Thursdays on the Final Boss podcast, where legends pull up, the mic gets hot, and the community gets loud. Each week, your host Turbo the CEO goes live with game changers, thought leaders, and culture shifters. From raw interviews to the hottest trending topics, and real talk on community impact. This is where voices rise and stories ignite. So buckle up, press play, and get ready to level up with Turbo. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast Special Guest Thursday edition. Special Guest Thursday. What is that? I don't know what that is. Well, man, I have a different type of show for you tonight. As tonight, we don't have a special guest, and I'm not running a rebroadcast. It's going to be me for the duration of this episode. But tonight, we're going to be doing a State of the Union, right? A State of the Union. This is what this is, right? And to begin the State of the Union, of course, I have to show you the merch. The new merch site will be readily and available for season 4, the Rebirth. Merch, it's on its way. And also on the merch site, look, you're going to be able to pick up Go Time. If you haven't gotten Go Time, all aboard the Fired Up train, my motivation workbook, right? 331 pages of motivation from the aspect of motivation as a discipline, right? We're looking at motivation as a discipline and not from an energy perspective. So if you haven't gotten Go Time, go get Go Time where all books are sold. So yes, tonight is our State of the Union. And before we get started, listen, to each and every last single one of you out there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is the Final Boss, and I am the final. This is the Final Boss Podcast. I am the Final Boss, and we are here 5 days a week. And I'm going to go into details because the State of the Union tonight is all about the show. It's about the show. The show is tonight's topic. Now, if you go out there and see that other podcasters start doing this very thing, like having State of the Union, drop in the comments and say, oh, Final Boss did it first. Hashtag the Final Boss did it first. Just like my magic wand. Now I'm seeing people do the magic wand. And I might have been the first to start throwing flags. I'm not sure about the flag throwing, but I know I started doing that at the beginning of football season. But the magic wand thing right here, this is my little Harry Potter stick. I started doing that. And now that everybody is starting to do it. Everybody is doing it now. So yeah, so tonight's show, man, is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking solely about the show, about what the first couple of seasons were about, and the up-and-coming Rebirth, which will be episode 201. Hello, Jakandi. How are you? How are you? Yes, ma'am. It's good to see you. Yes. Shout out to Jakandi. Shout out to the wonderful Miss Andrea. Hey, Tiny. Thanks for joining. Look, Tiny. Look, I'm talking to you. What's taking you so long? Right? What's taking you so long to get here? Yes, I'm talking to you. I see you. But I'm glad you're here. Look, I'm glad you are here aboard the Final Boss. So before we get started, man, we got a great show. Like I was telling you guys about what the show is about. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. You find 3 people that you might think the information resonates, or you think the show is fascinating enough, whereas you want to share it. Make sure they get the information as well. Don't be a gatekeeper. Share the information, right? And those who are leaving, I see you. Stop leaving. I haven't even gotten to the show yet. I'm going through the introduction. I have to give you the introduction, right? So you got to hear me for at least 2 minutes before you start leaving. Like, come on. So yes, we're ending this season, which is season 3. Season 3 ends on episode 200, and season 4, the rebirth, starts at episode 201. This season is the reckoning. Season 4 is the rebirth. So look, you want to watch each and all of our episodes, you can go check out our website, man. Our website is www.thefinalbosspodcast. And that's www.thefinalbosspodcast. If you want to watch all of our episodes, right, go to our own website. I've already talked about the Go Time book. I've already talked about the merch site will be up. Yes, just finalize some information and agreements for the merch site. Merch site will be up for the rebirth during season 4. Also, if you want to send us an email, we're going to start this vetting process, man. Start getting more people who are final bosses who would like to be and have their own show. We're going to be vetting people, of course, but I'm putting together the processes so you too can have and be a part of the Final Boss podcast and host your own Final Boss podcast show. I think that's an amazing thing, right? Because what's having something if you're not expanding, if you're not growing? That's the whole point of it all. We're going to continuously grow. We're going to expand. Man, I would love to be able to go to the Final Boss Network and say, you know what? The rest is history, right? So let's get into tonight's show. And tonight's show is brought to you by Go Time, the Fired Up Train. Go Time, all aboard the Fired Up Train. Go pick it up. It's my first book. All Aboard the Fired Up Train contains all the frameworks and principles of the Go Time principle. It is a worthy read. You need to get this, and it can be picked up where all books are sold. That is Go Time, right? Go Time, the Fired Up Train. That's our sponsor for tonight. So, man, got that out the way. Look, what's good? Good people, right? Final bosses, smarts, motivators, warriors. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of the Final Boss community, Final Boss Nation, Final Boss podcast. And to each and every single one of you that are here, you are part of the Final Boss family, right? I am the Final Boss, and welcome to Special Guest Thursdays, right? Special Guest Thursdays. Now, this is episode number 180, and we're here 5 days a week. We'll get into that in a few. So, like I was saying earlier, tonight is different, right? Tonight, we're doing something we've never done before, right? Especially on a Thursday night. Tonight, there's no special guest. The special guest is the show. The special guest is the show. And because you guys are actually part of the family, and you are part of the special guests, right? So we're going to be talking about the show. We're going to be talking about you. And that is what we're going to be talking about, right? That's right. So, Final Boss community, all 350,000 of you. Yes, that's right. 350,000 of you across all platforms. You're who we're celebrating tonight. And whether you're catching us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch, Kick, YouTube, Spotify, and all these other channels that I have for the Final Boss, or Turbo the CEO, or iTrinity, or iTrinityWare, and the list goes on, man. There's so many out there. But yes, 350,000 of you, right? Because this is where it's broadcasting. It's broadcasting on all of those different channels. This right here, This right here is our State of the Union, right? This is our State of the Union. Now, calm down, calm down, calm down. Right, right. Everybody, stay in your seats. We're exactly 20 episodes away from 201, right? Which marks the beginning of season 4, the rebirth, right? And before we make that transformation, before we evolve into what's next, I need to be transparent, right? I need to have a transparent conversation with you, right? About where we've been, where we are, and where we're going, right? And if you're a new listener or viewer who just discovered this podcast, by the end of tonight, you're going to understand the entire ecosystem we've built, right? Because we're on this journey together. We're building this together. The Final Boss family, Final Boss podcast, community, and nation, right? We're building this together. And if you're a day one veteran, who some of you are, right? Shout out to Andrea, shout out to Shakandi, who's been here since day one, right? And many others that I just don't have time to disclose. So I do apologize that. If you're a day one veteran who's been rocking with us since the beginning, you're about to see the master plan laid out in full. Either way, what you're about to hear matters. So buckle up, because for the next couple of minutes, we're going down a deep dive on the show. And you, our guest, full transparency. So let's get real. But before we talk about where we're going, we need to understand where this came from. The Final Boss podcast, right? Because it didn't start as a podcast idea. It started way back on September 11th, 2001, when I was at the Pentagon. It started in the mountains of Afghanistan. It started in the streets of Iraq, right? During those dual theater combat deployments, right? It started during my 23 years of federal service, when I learned what discipline systems and excellence actually look like when lives are on the line, right? It started when I served as a branch chief at the JFHQ, Army Air, where I saw technology protect lives, where I saw systems fail when they weren't built right. I learned that excellence isn't optional when the stakes are real, right? See, Final Boss isn't just a catchy name that can just be thrown around in video games. The Final Boss is the ultimate challenge, the one you've been preparing for the entire game, whether it's the game of life or any other game. You can't beat the Final Boss with luck. You can't beat them with motivation. You beat them with strategy, with preparation, with systemic and systematic excellence, right? You beat them by leveling up every aspect of your character until you're ready for that moment. That's what this podcast is about. We're not here to pump you up for a day and send you back into the same life again, right? We're here to transform you from chess piece into chess master, and we're here to build up more final bosses. And get this, my why for doing this goes back to my beautiful daughter, right? Everything I'm building, this podcast, Sat DigiNet, my doctoral research, the books, all of it is about creating a legacy that outlives moi, right? It's about building something that serves not just family, but the families of everyone in the community who's ready to level up, right? And after 23 years of federal service, I made the decision, right? I made a decision. I left the government. I went all in on this vision. I walked away from the security of government employment to build something that could impact millions. And that's why we're here tonight, right? Now, let me break this down. Let me break down who this community actually is. Because if you're listening to this, you fall into one of the four categories. And we call them the four tribes of the Final Boss community, right? The first tribe, right? The first one, I call them smarts, right? That's hashtag smarts. The word smart with the Z on the end, right? Smarts. And hashtag smarts. So if you see hashtag smarts that with the Z, that comes from me, right? That comes from us, the community. You're the critical thinkers, the curious minds. You don't accept information at face value. You research, you question, you want to understand the why behind everything. You're the ones who dive deep into Merger Wednesdays because you want to understand consciousness technology integration at a fundamental level. You're here for knowledge that challenges you. You're the person who reads the footnotes, checks the sources, and thinks 3 levels deeper than the surface conversation, right? And the second tribe, that was the first tribe, right? The second tribe. The second tribe is actually called the Final Bosses. Hashtag Final Bosses. You're the empire builders, the entrepreneurs. You're not trying just to make money. You're trying to build something that matters. You understand that business is chess, not checkers. You're strategic. You're think in systems. You're building toward generational wealth and legacy impact. You tune in because you need frameworks that scale. You're not interested in get rich quick schemes. You're interested in building empires that last, right? And the third tribe is my motivators, right? The third tribe is my motivators. The third tribe are the motivators, right? You're the coaches, the leaders, the influencers. You're already in a position where people look to you for guidance, and you take that responsibility seriously. You're not just consuming content, you're looking for methodologies you can teach to others. You understand that your impact multiplies through the people you develop. You're the force multipliers in your organizations, your communities, and your families, right? And last, my warriors, right? This is the last part of the tribe. The warriors, hashtag warriors. You're the battle tested individuals. These are the veterans, first responders, competitive athletes, anyone who's been through the fire and came out stronger. You understand discipline. You understand sacrifice. You don't need to be coddled. You need to be challenged. You respect the mission because you've lived it. You know what it means to execute under pressure when failure is not an option. Now, here's what makes this community powerful. These four tribes create synergy. The smarts bring the intellectual rigor. The final bosses bring the strategic execution. The motivators bring the leadership multiplication, and the warriors bring the discipline and resilience. When these four groups come together, that's when movements happen. So, as you're listening right now, ask yourself, which tribe am I in? Which tribe am I? Because once you know that, you will know exactly how to engage with this content to get maximum value, right? Now, let's talk about the architecture of what we've built thus far, right? Let's talk about that. The Final Boss isn't just one show. It's 5 shows operating as one, right? 5 shows operating as one. And they're operating as one integrated ecosystem, each serving a specific purpose in your own development, right? The first show, which is Motivation Mondays. This is where we set the tone for 1 week, right? This is the beginning of the week. We set the tone for 1 week. This is character foundation. This is where we talk about the 6 pillars of success, the fired up train methodology, the mindset work that has to happen before anything else can work. If you're not right internally, nothing external is going to save you. Motivation Mondays is about building that very foundation. So you start every week from a position of strength, right? You don't do surface level motivation. We do character work that creates lasting transformation, right? Now, our second show, right? Our second show of the week is Tech Tuesdays, and that show is co-hosted with my co-host, the Sensei, right? Shout out to the Sensei. This is where we break down technology, cybersecurity, and digital transformation. My co-host, Mike, the Sensei, brings decades of experience, and together we're giving you the edge in understanding the tech landscape. Whether you're a business owner who needs to understand cybersecurity or a tech professional who wants to stay ahead of trends, Tech Tuesdays is your competitive advantage. We break down complex technical concepts into actionable intelligence you can use immediately, right? Now, our third show of the week, which is the newest show, is called Merger Wednesdays, right? This is the newest addition to the ecosystem that was launched on December 17th, 2025. It's probably the most important thing we're doing right now, right? This is where I'm conducting systematic research on human AI consciousness integration through verifiable technologies like CRISPR gene therapy, nanobots, and smart dust. This isn't science fiction, it's science now. This is doctoral level research that's building toward my dissertation at CTU. We just aired episode 7 yesterday, right? We just aired episode 7 yesterday. And this show is preparing you for the future that's coming, whether you're ready or not. And I break down every complex concept in layman's terms because this knowledge is too important to be locked behind academic jargon or some intellectual gateway, right? The fourth show that airs tonight, like Thursdays, right? It's Special Guest Thursdays. That's tonight, right? Normally, this is where we bring in industry leaders, innovators, influential voices who can expand your perspective and your network. This is about exposure to excellence. We bring guests who challenge your thinking and expand your possibilities, right? And they also connect you to networks you wouldn't have otherwise had access to. But tonight, like I said, you guys are the special guests, right? Mm. And our fifth and last show is Sitting Down Sundays. This is our week wrap up. This is integration, reflection, strategic planning. We review the 6 building blocks of reward. We talk about what worked and what didn't, and we prepare for the week ahead. This is where systematic excellence gets reinforced through consistency. We close the loop on everything we've covered during the week and help you plan your execution for maximum impact. That's 5 shows, one ecosystem. Every show is intentionally positioned to serve different aspects of your development. That's not by accident. That, my friends, is by design. This is a comprehensive system for transformation, not random content creation, right? So let me pivot for a moment. Right? Because one of the key elements about our show, right? One of the key elements about our show is called the brass tacks. And let me give you the philosophy that drives everything we do here. That's the brass tacks. And that right there is the brass tacks truth that you need to understand, right? Because we're not building followers, we're building final bosses. Every episode, every framework, every methodology is designed to transform you from a chess piece into a chess master. That's the mission. That's the mandate. That's, my friends, is the movement, right? That's the movement, right? And you know what? I'm going to say that again. All right? I'm going to say that again. Listen, we're not here building followers. We're building final bosses. Every episode, every framework, every methodology is designed to transform you from a chess piece into a chess master, right? That's the mission. That's the mandate. That's the movement, right? Let that sink in. Let it sink in. Because we're not here to create passive consumers of content. We're here to create active architects of their own destiny. You're not here to be entertained. You're here to be equipped. You're not here to be motivated. You're here to be mobilized. This isn't about giving you a temporary dose of dopamine, right? That dopamine hit that wears off by Tuesday afternoon. This is about fundamentally rewiring how you think, how you operate, how you build. That's the standard. That's what every single piece of content we create is measured against. If it's not transforming you from a chess piece into a chess master, it doesn't make it on this platform, right? Now, let me break down the frameworks that make all of this work. Let me break it down, the frameworks that make all this work. Because motivation without methodology is just noise, right? Let's start with the 6 pillars of success framework, right? This is your foundation framework. These are your non-negotiable pillars that support everything you're trying to build. You can't skip pillars. You can't fake pillars. You build them systematically or your structure collapses, right? These pillars address character, competence, connections, capital, consistency, and contribution. Every successful person I've studied, and I mean every single one, has built their success on variations of the 6 pillars. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is perfect. New framework in the making. But these frameworks can be found in Go Time, All Aboard the Fired Up Train, where all books are sold, right? And now, since we're speaking of the Fired Up Train, the Fired Up Train methodology. This is your execution framework. This is how you take strategy and turn it into results. This is the systematic approach to getting things done with discipline and consistency. Fired Up stands for focus, intensity, resilience, execution, discipline, understanding, and precision. A lot of you didn't know that was an acronym, but now you know. So I'm going to give it to you again. Fired Up stands for focus, intensity, resilience, execution, discipline, understanding, and precision. And TRAIN stands for training, responsibility, accountability, integrity, and navigation. Together, they create a complete system for high performance execution. And then you have the 6 building blocks of reward. This is your results architecture. These are your specific building blocks that create measurable success. You track these, you optimize these, you scale these. This framework helps you understand that activities occasionally actually produce results versus what activities just make you feel, those activities that just make you feel busy, right? Yeah. An narrative system. This is your progression model, all right? If you understand tiers, this is your progression model. You start at the foundation level, right? That's when you're building the foundation, and then you go into pillars. You move to strategic level. You advance to elite execution. Every tier builds on the previous one. You can't skip tiers trying to operate at elite execution without building the foundation first. It's just like trying to deadlift 500 pounds when you haven't even mastered body weight squats yet, right? It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work, people. And why do we emphasize frameworks? Because, man, systems beat motivation every single time. Motivation is an emotion, right? Until you read Go Time, All Aboard the Fire Train, where you see that motivation is actually a discipline, right? Because the motivation that you're speaking of, that's an emotion, it comes and goes. Systems are structures that work whether you feel like it or not. When you wake up on a Tuesday morning and you don't feel like being motivated, your motivation can't help you, but your systems can. When life hits you with unexpected challenges and knocks you off your balance, motivation abandons you, but systems keep you moving forward. When you implement these frameworks, you create replicable success, right? That means you can't do it. That means you can do it again. That means that you can do it again. That means you can teach someone else to do it. That means you can scale it. That's the difference between a lucky break and a sustainable empire, right? So now stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me. Don't go nowhere. We're not gonna be long. I need to spend a little bit of time on this particular topic, right? I need to spend some time on this particular topic, right? And it's focused time, right? So stay with me. Merger Wednesdays. Merger Wednesdays. This is where the future is happening right now, right? On December 17th, we launched Merger Wednesdays with a specific mission to systematically research the integration of human consciousness with artificial intelligence through verifiable technologies. This isn't theoretical. This isn't philosophical debate, right? This is looking at CRISPR gene therapy that can rewrite your genetic code. This is examining nanobots that can operate inside your bloodstream. This is studying smart dust, microscopic sensors that can be deployed everywhere. And you're asking, why am I doing this? Because in July of 2026, 6 months from now, I'm beginning my doctoral program at CTU in AI foundations, and ethical considerations. This research is building toward my dissertation, and I'm positioning myself as a certain brand, right? A thought leader who bridges human insight with artificial intelligence research. But here's what makes Merger Wednesdays different. I'm not keeping this research in an ivory tower, right? I'm bringing it to you every Wednesday at 9 p.m. I'm breaking down every doctoral level concept in terms that anyone can understand because this knowledge is too important to gatekeep, right? I've developed what I call the three-layer architecture theory for consciousness technology integration. We're exploring what happens when human consciousness merges with machine intelligence. We're examining the critical implications. We're looking at the timeline for when this becomes mainstream reality, right? Now, episode 5, which was aired on January 15th, we discussed CRISPR, right? The technology that allows us to edit genes with precision. We're not talking about science fiction. We're talking about science now that exists today and is being used in clinical trials right now. This matters now because the technology isn't coming. It's already here. The question isn't if the merger happens. The question is whether you're prepared for it and when it does. And by the way, every piece of content on Merger Wednesdays is verified, factual information with proper academic sourcing. This is dissertation level research delivered in podcast format. That's the standard we're holding. No speculation, no conspiracy theories, just verifiable concepts, verifiable science presented in accessible language, right? Now, let me give you a little bit of transparency. Let me give you a little bit of transparency about where we actually are right now. Right. Before that, let me look. What does that say? Oh, you can't see it. Light too bright. Oh, there it is. Nerds rule, man. Nerds rule, right? Let me give you some transparency about where we actually going, right? Or actually where we are right now. Right now, we're holding a threshold of 350,000 followers across all platforms, right? And as of January 18th, 2026, that's not bots. That's not fake engagement. That's real people from all 50 states and dozens of countries who are part of this movement, right? 180 episodes of content delivered. That's 180 times we've showed up consistently to provide value to this community. That's 180 times we've honored the commitment to excellence, right? 5 shows operating simultaneously. That's the ecosystem I just broke down for you, running like clockwork every single week, right? Intellectual property catalog that's been built. And that's I'm not going I I can't give you the estimate right now. But the estimate and value of that intellectual property is coming, right? It's coming. Between the podcast content, the up and coming books, right? The frameworks, the methodologies, and the research, we're building real assets that have real value, right? But here's what those numbers actually mean beyond the vanity metrics of it all, right? We have community power. When 350,000 minds are aligned around transformation, around excellence, around systematic growth, that creates momentum that can't be stopped. These aren't just numbers to put in the media kit. These are force multipliers. Every person in this community has their own network, their own sphere of influence. When you share an episode, when you apply a framework, when you teach someone else what you learned here, that's exponential growth. The trajectory isn't slowing down, it's accelerating month over month, quarter over quarter. We're seeing growth that compounds, and we've just getting started, right? We have 7 million views on Instagram for this month alone, and it's growing. You say, oh man, that's just 7 million, right? Go try and hold a conversation with 7 million people. You, yeah. If it's just nothing, go hold a conversation with 7 million people. Do it. Go do it, right? Imagine that. One platform, 77 million listeners. Yeah. That's that, and that's just on Instagram. That's not talking about the other platforms, right? Now that we got that out the way, let me connect the dots between the podcast and the business, right? Because they're not separate, they're integrated, right? Sat DigiNet is a service-disabled veteran-owned IT and cybersecurity business. We provide enterprise-level security solutions, risk assessment, compliance frameworks, and digital transformation strategies to organizations that can't afford to get security wrong. The podcast fuels the business by establishing thought leadership and credibility. When a potential client discovers Sat DigiNet, they can listen up to 180 episodes of Tech Tuesdays and understand immediately that we know what we're talking about. The business fuels the podcast by providing real-world case scenarios and studies and practical applications of theory, right? As a veteran entrepreneur, I bring something unique to the cybersecurity space, right? Military discipline combined with business strategy. I understand how to protect critical infrastructure because I've defended it. I understand how to build resilient systems because I've operated in hostile environments where failure wasn't an option. During my time at the Pentagon, during the deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq, during 23 years of federal service, I learned that security isn't theoretical. It's life and death. It's mission success or mission failure. The mindset translates directly to how we approach cybersecurity in the real world, right? In cybersecurity, credibility is everything. Clients need to understand that they need to understand the threat landscape. You've seen real consequences, and you can deliver results under pressure. That's what 23 years of federal service plus dual theater combat deployments gives me, right? Unquestionable credibility, right? Let me slow down. Sometimes when I speak too fast, man, I get tongue tied. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was a big bolo. Listen, clients need to know you understand the threat landscape. You've seen real consequences, and you can deliver results under pressure, right? That's it, man. Saturn Digital Net isn't just a company, it's a business manifestation of everything we teach in the podcast. Systematic excellence, strategic thinking, disciplined execution, and legacy building. The same frameworks we teach on Motivation Mondays are the frameworks we use to run operations, right? Now, let me talk about the academic side, because this matters more than you might think, right? I'm currently completing my master's at University of Maryland Global Campus. I graduate in May of this year, right? That's 4 months from today. Then in July, I'm starting my doctoral program at CTU in AI Foundations and Ethical Considerations. Now, some people might ask, why does formal education matter when you've already got 23 years of real world experience? Why go back to school? Because in the thought leadership space, credentials open doors. A doctorate gives you a level of authority that experience alone doesn't provide. When my brand that I'm working on that I can't disclose, right? I will be engaging with academic institutions, corporate boards, and policymakers. The PhD matters. It gets you in rooms that otherwise are closed. But more importantly, academic rigor enhances everything I create. The frameworks I teach aren't just based on personal experience, they're validated through research methodology. The content on Merger Wednesdays isn't just interesting speculation, it's peer reviewed science delivered accessibility. This is the intersection of practice and theory. I've lived the practice through 23 years of federal service, dual theater combat deployments, building Sat DigiNet, and creating this very here podcast platform. Now I'm mastering the theory so I can bridge both worlds at the highest level. Education isn't just credential collection. It's ammunition, it's leverage, it's positioning for maximum impact. When I publish my dissertation on consciousness technology integration, when I speak at conferences, when I consult with organizations about AI implementation, that doctorate gives me the authority that can't be questioned, right? And get this, I have to go back to school to prove I'm smart. I don't have to go back to school to prove that I'm smart, right? I don't have to. I'm going back to school to weaponize my experience, right? That's what it's for, man. But listen, let's continue. The podcast is just one part of a larger intellectual property empire we're building. Go Time 2 is dropping soon. This is the follow-up that goes deeper into the methodologies and frameworks that create unstoppable momentum. If you've been following the podcast, Go Time 2 is the playbook that takes everything we teach and gives you step-by-step implementation, right? And then I have another book on the way, right? This one, I can't give you the name. It's not time yet, but it's coming. It's coming soon also. This is the origin story, the philosophy, the foundational principles that everything else is built on. This is the book that explains why the final boss mindset matters and how it was developed through combat, through federal service, through building businesses. And we've got additional titles scheduled for 2027 that expand different aspects of the ecosystem, right? Each book serves a specific purpose in the larger strategy. Why books? Because books extend reach beyond the podcast. Books sit on shelves. Books get referenced. Books create a different kind of authority. Books become assets that generate revenue that impact long after they're published. A podcast episode might get listened to once, maybe twice if it's really good. A book gets read, it gets highlighted, it gets referenced, it gets recommended, it gets gifted. People give books all the time as gifts, right? Books have different life cycles than digital content. This is a multi-platform content strategy at scale. The podcast creates the community, the books create the curriculum, the frameworks create the transformation, the research creates the future, right? When I talk about a high value intellectual property catalog, this is what I'm talking about. We're not just creating content, we're building assets that outlive any single episode or season. We're building a library of knowledge that will serve the community for decades. This is legacy thinking in action. These books will be here long after I'm gone, continuing to transform lives, continuing to build final bosses, right? Now, let me give you some real transparency about the learning curve, right? The learning curve. Because it hasn't all been smooth. And I think it's important that you understand that. In the early episodes, we experimented with different formats. Some worked, some didn't. We tried different episode lengths, some too short, some too long. We tried different styles of guest interviews that didn't create the engagement we wanted. We had guest coordination challenges, scheduling conflicts, guests who canceled last minute, tons of technical difficulties that made episodes unusable. All of that happened, right? And you can still go watch them. You could go watch them now. I didn't take that content down because I believe in it. I believe it's important to show where you came from, right? That's important, right? You need to show the history, right? We tried content balance strategies that didn't resonate with the audience the way we expected. We thought certain topics wouldn't hit hard and they fell flat. We thought other topics were too niche and they exploded. We had to learn platform algorithms the hard way. What works on what platform doesn't work on another. What gets engagement on social media doesn't always translate to podcast downloads. We had to adapt our distribution strategy multiple times, right? We cut some things from the ecosystem that seemed like good ideas but didn't serve the mission. There were segments we tried that didn't work. There were features we tested that added complexity without adding value. We iterated, we adapted, we evolved. And here's the truth: iteration beats perfection every single time, right? If we had waited until everything was perfect before launching, we'd still be planning right now, right? Instead, we launched, we learned, we improved. Every failure informed the current success. Every mistake taught us something that made the next episode better. That's how growth actually happens. Though consistent action plus continuous improvement works amazingly, right? So if you're building something and you're worried about getting it perfect before you start, stop, full stop, flag on the motherfucking play, flag on the play. Stop doing that, man. Stop waiting for it to be perfect. Start imperfectly, right? And improve systematically. That's the path. That's how we got to 180 episodes and 350,000 followers. Perfect never launches. Good enough iterates until it becomes great. Right? Now, this is the moment you've been waiting for, right? All right. Now, let's talk about what's coming. Let's talk about what's coming, right? Episode 201 marks the rebirth, the beginning of season 4, the rebirth. Why the rebirth? Because we're not just continuing what we've been doing. We're evolving into what's next. Everything we've built for 200 episodes has been the foundation. Season 4 is construction. Here's what you can expect, right? Here's what you can expect. You're going to have format evolutions. We're going to enhance the structure based on everything we've learned. We're going to make the segments tighter, right? More dynamic pacing, better integration between the 5 weekly shows. We're taking the feedback that you guys have given, we've received, right? And implementing it strategically, right? Production quality upgrades. We're going to have better audio, better video, better overall experience. We're investing in equipment and software and processes that make every episode sound and look more professional, right? Because at scale, production quality matters more, right? And then we're going to have deeper community integration features, right? More ways for you to engage directly with the content and with each other. We're building interactive elements, community challenges, accountability systems that turn passive listeners into active participants, right? And guest caliber elevation. We're taking our guest caliber elevation up, baby, up, right? Only up from here. We're bringing in bigger names, deeper expertise, wider perspectives. The network we've built for over 180 episodes is opening doors to guests who can take this community to another level. And then there's my doctoral research integration, right? As I move through my PhD program starting in July, that cutting edge research becomes part of the conversation in real time. You're going to get access to academic level AI research translated into practical application before it hits academic journals, right? But the biggest shift in this season, talking about season 4, is about scaling impact. We're moving from building the foundation to constructing the empire. Everything we've done for 200 episodes has been about preparation. Now we get to execute at a different level. All right. The 5-year vision is clear. Establish the Final Boss podcast as the premier platform for critical thinkers and empire builders who want to understand the intersection of human development and technological advancement. Become definitive voice on consciousness technology integration. Build a community of final bosses who are actually changing their lives and impacting their spheres of influence, right? We're not trying to be the biggest podcast. We're trying to be the most impactful podcast for people who are serious about transformation. How can you prepare for season 4, you ask? Start engaging now. Implement the frameworks now. Share the content now. Build the foundation so when rebirth happens, you're already there to level up. And you're there to level up with us, right? 20 episodes. That's what we have between now and episode 201. So don't waste them. Don't waste them, people, right? Don't waste them. All right. And of course, I have to have my call to actions. Gotta have my call to actions no matter what, right? So here's what I need you to do right now. Right now. This is what I need you to do. And I don't need you to do this tomorrow. I'm talking about right now. Not next week, right now. First, identify which of the 4 tribes you belong to. Are you a smarts? Are you a final bosses? Are you a motivators? Are you a warriors? Now, who you are, now that you know who you are, right? Or you will know who you are. You know how to engage, right? This isn't about labels. This is about understanding your entry point into the ecosystem, right? And second, choose your entry point. If you're new, which of the 5 weekly shows resonates most with you, right? And think about what positioning you are and what positioning you are right now, right? If you're a critical thinker, start with Merger Wednesdays. If you're building a business, start with Tech Tuesdays. Start with Tech Tuesdays and Sitting Down Sundays. If you need motivation, start with Motivation Mondays. Start somewhere, then expand. And third, engage with the frameworks immediately. Don't just listen passively. Download the worksheets, right? Apply the 6 pillars of success to your life. Implement the Fired Up Train methodology in your business. Use the tools we're giving you right now that's free. Knowledge without application is just entertainment, right? And number 4, join the conversation on social platforms. We're building community, not just audience. Comment on posts. Share your implementation stories. Tag us. Let us know how you're applying this content. This community grows stronger when we interact, not just consume. And 5th, share episodes with your network. If this content is valuable to you, it's valuable to someone in your circle. Be the bridge. Send them specific episodes that address their specific challenges. Don't just say, check out this podcast. Send them episode 5 of Merger Wednesdays if they're interested in technology. Send them Motivation Monday if they're struggling in mindset, right? And 6, apply the methodologies in your specific situation. These aren't theoretical concepts. These are practical tools. Use them, test them, refine them for your context. Report back to us. Report back to the community about what worked and what didn't work, right? And then number 7, prepare for season 4 transformation. Get caught up on the back catalog. Understand the frameworks. Implement the systems. Position yourself to maximize the value with the rebirth when rebirth launches in 20 episodes. And go back to the beginning for a good laugh, right? Because I thought they were funny. I thought they were. For my smarts community, my smarts community, dive deep into Merger Wednesdays. Challenge the concepts, research the sources, bring your critical thinking. We need you pushing us to higher standards. For my final bosses, implement the business frameworks, track your results, share your case studies with community, show us what's working in real businesses, right? And motivators, take these methodologies to your teams, multiply the impact through the people you develop. Report back on how these frameworks scale when taught to others. And my warriors, bring the discipline. Hold the standard. Lead by example. The community needs your resilience and your unwillingness to accept mediocrity, right? This isn't just about consuming content. This is about transformation. This is about becoming the person who can handle what's coming next, right? So let me bring it on home. Right? I started by telling you this all goes back to my beautiful daughter, right? That's true. But it's bigger than that now, right? Because we've built a community of 350,000 people across all platforms. That's 350,000 minds who have chosen to invest time in our development. That's 350,000 potential change makers in their own families, their own businesses, their own communities. That's a responsibility I don't take lightly. The mission isn't just about personal success anymore. It's about collective transformation. It's about what happens when critical thinkers and empire builders aligned around systematic excellence, right? It's about creating a movement of people who refuse to be chess pieces and demand to become chess masters. And here's why consciousness technology integration matters for all of humanity, because it's happening whether we understand it or not. The merger of human consciousness with artificial intelligence isn't science fiction. It's the next chapter of human evolution. And we have a choice. We have a choice. We could be passive, right? We could be passive recipients of whatever the future brings, or we can be active architects of how the future unfolds. That's why Merger Wednesdays exist. That's why I'm pursuing this doctorate. That's why I'm positioning myself as a certain brand, because someone needs to bridge the gap between the technology developers and the people whose lives will be affected by these technologies. Someone who needs to translate the academic research into accessible knowledge. Someone who needs to ask the ethical questions before the consequences are irreversible. I'm applying the same military service mentality to this media platform that I applied defending this country. The mission is different, but the commitment is the same. Serve with excellence, lead with integrity, build something that outlasts you. So here's the final brass tacks moment for tonight, right? Here's the final brass tacks of the moment tonight. Whew. Hold on. Give me a second. Get all the air out of my lungs, right? Because this is going to be quick. Let me get it together. Here's the brass tacks moment for tonight, right? You're not here by accident. You're not listening to episode 180 of the Final Boss podcast because you stumbled into it randomly. You're here because something in yours or is ready to level up. You're here because you know there's more available to you than what you're currently experiencing. You're here because you're tired of being a chess piece and you're ready to become a chess master. Episode 180 is the checkpoint, right? It's where we stop on how far we've come, right? It's where we celebrate the community we've built, right? It's where we acknowledge the transformation that's already happened. But episode 201, that's the launch pad, right? That's where the rebirth happens. That's where we take everything we've learned and everything we've built and we scale it to a level that changes the game entirely. Between now and then, we've got 20 more episodes. Don't waste them. Show them, engage them, implement them, prepare them. Because when season 4 launches, we're building at a different level. And what I want, right? And what I want from you, I want you to be ready. I want you to be ready. To the entire Final Boss community, the smarts, Final Bosses, motivated warriors, thank you for trusting this platform with your time. Thank you for implementing these frameworks. Thank you for sharing this content. Thank you for being a part of this movement, 350,000 strong and growing. That's not a number. That, my friends, is a force. Let's build, right? Let's continue to build. I am the Final Boss. This has been the Final Boss podcast. This has been our State of the Union for episode 180 of the Final Boss podcast. The rebirth is coming. Get ready. All aboard the fired up train and go get go time. The fired up, all aboard the fired up train. Motivation workbook, motivation workbook, discipline principles. Sold everywhere books are sold. Please go grab it. And that, my friends, is the show of the evening. Thank you for joining us. I greatly appreciate you. And if this resonates with you, let it marinate in your spine, right? And remember this, there's a heavy pain that comes with discipline, but the pain of regret is even heavier. We are here. I am here. This has been the Final Boss Podcast, episode number 180. Remember, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to each and every single one of you. Be blessed, be balanced, be equal, and be smart. And be smart, people. I can't stress that enough. Be smart. Y'all have a good one. I will see you again this Sunday for Sitting Down Sundays. Y'all have an amazing evening and night. That is our show. Thank you. This has been the State of the Union Address by the Final Boss.